home. When it comes to the total, Philadelphia's 5-1 to the under in their last 6 at Fenway. Give me Boston minus 165 and the under 12 runs in that game. Next matchup, Cleveland Mets 7-10 Flushing Queens. The Mets are minus 150, totals at 9. No movement on the total as of yet. We saw a nickel move toward New York. They opened 145 up to 150. Total opening remains at 9 flat. 60% are leaning Mets, 73% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Indians are plus 140 on the money line. The Mets are plus 135 on the run line. We have Adam Plutko for the Indians, Marcus Stroman for the Mets. Now, Stroman is 7-11 on the year. Now, I realize a lot of those losses were accrued with a different ball club, but just keep in mind, he's got a 5.17 ERA with the Mets this year. Meanwhile, on the other side, Adam Plutko, 5-3 on the year. The Mets are 20th in hits at home, 28-28 against the spread at home as well. Cleveland, on the other side, 22 games over 500 at 74-52 overall for the year. They're also 35-26 away from home, 36-25 against the spread when traveling. They're also 3rd in runs allowed, 3rd in walks allowed, 5th in striking batters out. Now, when it comes to the total, the Indians are 12-3 to the over in their last 15, taking on the Mets. I'm going to lean Indians plus 1.5 and the over 9 runs in that game. Next matchup, Marlins, Braves, 720 Atlanta. The Braves are minus 200, totals at 9. Nickel fade of Atlanta and movement downward on the total. The Braves open 205 down to 200. Total open 9.5 down to 9 flat. 70% leaning toward the Braves, 79% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Marlins are plus 185 on the money line. The Braves plus 105 on the run line. We have Caleb Smith for the Marlins, Julio Teheran for the Braves. Teheran's just 7-8 on the year. Smith on the other side for the Marlins, 8-6 on the year, 3.63 ERA, 131 punchouts. The Braves are 23rd in hits allowed, 29th in walks allowed, which is second to last in Major League Baseball. When it comes to the total, Atlanta 35-29 to the over at home. Give me the Marlins plus 1.5 and the over 9 runs in that game. Next matchup, Brewers, Cardinals, 745 St. Louis. The Cardinals are minus 110, totals 8.5. We saw a 30-cent fade of the Cardinals and movement downward on the total. St. Louis open $140, down to 110. Total open 9.5, down to 8.5. 56% are leaning Brewers, 79% shaded toward the over. Right now, Milwaukee's minus 102 on the money line. The Cardinals plus $1.75 on the run line. We have Adrian Hauser for the Brewers, Adam Wainwright for the Cards. Wainwright comes into this game with a 4.33 ERA. Hauser comes into this game with a 5-5 record, 3.76 ERA. St. Louis is 24th in scoring, 28th in hits, 16th in walks allowed. The Brewers are 3rd in offensive walks, 45-35 as the favorite should this line flip. So let me just repeat that. The Brewers 45-35 as the favorite should this line flip, and it's very likely that it could, or at least close out as a pick'em contest with both teams at minus 105. Now, total-wise, Milwaukee's 5-2 to the over in their last 7. I'm going to lean Brewers minus 102 and the over 8.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Giants, Cubs, 805 Chicago. The Cubs are minus 210, totals 10.5. No movement on the total as of yet. We did see a 10-cent move towards Chicago in the early wagering here. The Cubs open minus 200 up to 210. Total open and remains at 10.5. 62% are leaning Cubs. And at the moment, the Giants are plus 200 on the money line. We have Derek Rodriguez for the Giants, Yu Darvish for the Cubs. Darvish has accumulated 168 strikeouts this year. Derek Rodriguez on the other side for the Giants, just 5-6 on the year, 4.79 ERA. The Cubs are 3rd in runs allowed at home, 2nd in home walks, 42-19 at Wrigley Field. The Giants on the other side, losers in just 6 out of their last 7 at Chicago, at Wrigley Field. They're also 25th in scoring, 20th in hits allowed on the road. When it comes to the total, the Cubbies are 36-25 to the under at home. I'm going to lean Chicago minus 1.5 and the under 10.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Tigers, Astros, 8-10 Houston. The Astros are minus 450. Total's 8.5. No movement on the total as of yet. We did see 25-cent move toward the Astros. They opened 425 up to 450. Total open remains at 8.5. 63% are leaning Astros, 64% shaded toward the over. Right now the Tigers are plus 395 on the money line. The Astros minus $1.95 on the run line. We have Daniel Norris for the Tigers, Justin Verlander for the Astros. I'm taking the give me Detroit plus 1.5 and the under 8.5 in that one. Next game, Yankees, Athletics, 10:07 Oakland. I'm gonna lean toward no, I'm gonna cap the game first. Oakland is minus 110, totals 9.5. No movement on the total as of yet. We saw a nickel fade of Oakland. They opened 115 down to 110. Total open remains at 9.5. 56% are leaning Athletics, 80% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Yankees are plus 103 on the money line. The Athletics plus $1.65 on the run line. We have Jay Happ for the Yankees, Mike Fiers for the A's. Happ comes into this game with a 10-7 record, 101 strikeouts. The Yankees are first in scoring, fifth in hits, second in offensive walks on the road. The Athletics are 20th in hits, 27th in striking batters out. When it comes to the total, the Yankees are 42-16 in the over when traveling. I'm going to lean toward the road dog in this one. Give me New York plus 103 and the over 9.5 in that game. And we're going to slide into our next and final game for the show. It is going to be Blue Jays Dodgers 10-10 Los Angeles. The Dodgers are minus 320, totals 8.5. We have Walker Buehler for the Dodgers. Nobody for the Blue Jays. Doesn't really matter. Give me the Dodgers minus 1.5 and the over 8.5 in that game. Let's go ahead and get into our recap brought to you by myself at patreon.com/BrockPage. We have the Blue Jays at the Dodgers. I'm leaning Dodgers minus 1.5 and the over 8.5 in that one. We have the Yankees at the Athletics. I'm leaning Yankees plus 103. And the over 9.5 in that one. We have the Tigers taking on the Astros. I'm leaning Tigers plus 1.5 and the under 8.5 in that one. We have the Giants taking on the Cubs. I'm leaning Cubbies minus 1.5 and the under 10.5 in that one. We have the Brewers taking on the Cardinals. I'm leaning Milwaukee minus 102 and the over 8.5 in that game. We have the Marlins taking on the Braves. I'm leaning Marlins plus 1.5 and the over 9 runs in that one. We have the Indians taking on the Mets. I have the Indians plus 1.5 and the over 9 runs in that one. We have the Phillies taking on the Red Sox. I'm leaning Boston minus 165 and the under 12 runs in that game. We have the Nationals taking on the Pirates. And that is a 7:05 Eastern first pitch. I'm leaning Washington minus $1.50 and the over 9 runs in that one. We also have the Angels taking on the Rangers. I'm leaning Texas minus 130 and the over 10.5 in that matchup. We also have the Royals taking on the Orioles, and that is a 7:05 Eastern first pitch at Camden Yards. And the winner of that game, in my humble opinion, will be the Baltimore Orioles, plus 105 and the under 10.5 in that one. We have the Rockies taking on the Diamondbacks. I'm leaning Rockies minus 105 and the over 9 runs in that game. We also have the White Sox taking on the Twins. Forgot to cap that one yesterday. I'm leaning White Sox plus 1.5 and the over 9 runs in that one. We also have the Mariners taking on the Rays. I'm leaning Rays minus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs in that game. And finally, last but certainly not least, we have our first game of the day. That's going to be Padres at the Cincinnati Reds. I'm leaning Reds minus 140 and the over 8.5 runs in that game. All right, guys, that is going to do it for me. Before I get out of here, just want to quickly remind you to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. We're doing really well on a lot of different memberships and tiers and packages on that site. Now, we got absolutely obliterated yesterday, but we're still well above 500 in many different categories. We do daily plays on that site, And the memberships begin at just $1.99 per month. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. There's plenty of free content there as well, including my current record. Link for that site is in the description section below. But most importantly, I got to thank you for watching me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And don't forget to check me out on patreon.com/BrockPage.